The second season of Bridgerton is now streaming on Netflix, and it's said to be a little less steamy than the first, but it is big on subtleties, just like a very popular author from the Regency period, Jane Austen. Robert Morrison, a professor at Bath Spa University in England and Queen's University in Ontario, joins us now with more in an essay that he's just published in LitHub. Just how much is Jane Austen a precursor to Bridgerton? Good to see you this morning from Bath.
From Bath. Yes, thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you.
So you say that as kind of groundbreaking as Bridgerton is, Jane Austen did it first.
Well, I've just returned from walking by Jane Austen's front door, so I have to start with that.
Okay.
Yes, Bridgerton, I think, has done a lot of very positive things in terms of historical accuracy. It's not very historically accurate, but in terms of multiracial casting, for example, I think it's very, very exciting. The reason I wrote the essay is because a lot of what Bridgerton has been praised for, I think Jane Austen did first. For example, portrayals of female sexuality. We don't usually think of Jane Austen as having much to say about female sexuality, but I think it is there in a very real and important way. And I guess the reason I keep coming back to Austen in my own studies is because to do it in 2020 or 2021 or 2022 is groundbreaking. But Austen did it 200 years in advance of that. And she's a writer and a woman I admire enormously for her insight and for her courage. And Bridgerton has followed a lot of the things that Austen was the first or one of the first to put in place.
Because she did it at a time when, like, as you say, women's sexuality it almost didn't exist, right? It was for childbirth, that was it. You
didn't feel it was impossible for a woman. One of the most revealing examples really is that there were various courts in England who didn't acknowledge that lesbianism could even exist, because the only way a woman could feel any sexual attraction, it was believed, is if a man was around. It was a world run by men far more than even now, and now it's still run by men. So Austen, in communicating the fact that women might have desires, women might have fantasies, women might feel powerful attraction, she's doing it in a subtle way, and she's doing it in a much briefer way than Bridgerton, but she is, I think, vitally aware of many aspects of a woman's experience. And of course, sexuality is part of that. It's inconceivable that Elizabeth and Darcy aren't thinking of each other when they're apart. Of course they are. Of course they are. Austen can't talk about it with the explicitness that it can be discussed in Bridgerton, but I think given the attraction that they clearly feel for one another, that sexuality is a part of that.
It was all about the courtship.
It was about the courtship. Austen published 6 novels, 2 of them set here in Bath. And yes, the highest aim for women in the class that Austen's characters reside in, the gentry, not as high as the aristocracy, not as high as the royalty, but a good deal above the vast majority of people in Britain, the pressure on those women to stay chaste, to make sure the reputation wasn't ruined, for example, like Marianne Dashwood in Sense and Sensibility or Lydia Bennet in Pride and Prejudice. If your chastity was called into question, your chances on the marriage market absolutely disappeared. And so there was fierce pressure on young women and how a courtship was managed. And most of the power resided in the hands of the men.
Yes, yes. Robert, I could talk for hours with you, but we've run out of time. Thank you for joining us this morning, or this afternoon for you from Bath. And you've got lots more in your book. We're going to plug it again. It's called The Regency Years. It covers all kinds of things that the period is the era that Bridgerton is set in. Nice to talk to you again.
Thank you.